Yes, everybody, what's going on? My name is Stephen Howson. This is Stretford Paddock. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to give the video a like, make sure to subscribe, and make sure to get your questions and comments in as we take you through what's going on. Harry Kane Wants Move is the title that we're going with, and of course he's been linked with Manchester United on the back end of that. This story's in the Telegraph, and they're saying that Harry Kane will consider his Tottenham Hotspur future in the summer, with the club facing a battle to convince a striker that he does not need to move to take his career to the next level. Well, for starters, I'd argue that he probably does need to leave Tottenham Hotspur to take his career to the next level. This is a guy that's probably going to score a shit ton of goals, but if he doesn't move and actually win something, then what is he, a Cockney version of Steve Bull? Anyway, head coach Jose Mourinho and chairman Daniel Levy are determined to do everything in their power to keep Kane, with the Portuguese admitting that Spurs cannot overhaul the current squad during the summer. Now, if Tottenham have got a very good scouting department, and I believe that they've got a decent one, and they could flip Harry Kane for the rumoured £150 million that he's supposedly up for sale for, because obviously they've got to play the game, aren't they? Externally, they've got to be like, oh, we don't want to sell him, but if we are going to sell him, 150 million is going to be the price. And of course, if United ring him up, it's definitely in the 150 million kind of range. If you get 150 million in, plus you'd assume they've probably got somewhere in the region of at least 100 to spend, you can probably get 4 very good players in for 250 million pound, I would assume. And that might make that squad capable then of competing. Very much like what we saw with Liverpool, when you go, you're going to let Coutinho go. Yeah, but Coutinho's going to fund him, bring in 2 or 3 players that are actually going to make this squad more complete. And that might be a tactic that Spurs go for. Very much in the same vein, though, the links to Manchester United, I just can't get giddy about them, to be honest. I think Kane's decent. I bag on him a little bit, but like, the guy does score goals. You got to give him that. And on occasion, we do need someone that's going to score those scruffy goals. I would argue in the current Manchester United side, like the Manchester United side of 6 months ago, bringing in Harry Kane is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen. It's like someone passing the driving test and getting a Lamborghini. No fucking point. It's not going to work. Because United don't create enough chances for Harry Kane to play the sort of game that he plays for both England and for Tottenham. Now, bringing Bruno Fernandes in, and with the potential signings of Grealish and Jadon Sancho, you go, wow, yeah, I think we probably would create enough chances for someone like Harry Kane to really thrive and possibly even take us to the next level. But for £150 million, I just don't see United doing it. I think if he moves, somewhere else is where he's going to go. If United splurge on Grealish, I think you're looking at the absolute cheapest you're getting him for is in the 50 million kind of range. I think Sancho's going to start talking around about the 100 kind of million range, and there's no way we're spending £300 million in a summer, even if we sell Pogba. There might be some other sellable assets that we could get rid of. I think if you brought Harry Kane, that might be the end of Tony Marshall at Manchester United, and I would assume you could probably get somewhere in the region of 50 million for him. But that's still 100 million on top of what you're getting for Tony Marshall to bring in Harry Kane, who I think he's 27 this summer, so there's probably only one contract in him that you're going to get a resale out of. You're not going to sell him on. So very minimal resale value. Someone who's definitely in their prime at the moment. £150 million. Well, if you just went for half of that, you could probably bring in a striker and a midfielder of the same sort of level of quality. And I think that would be far more prudent from United to do that rather than to just go and sign Harry Kane. I think the old United, of like 3 years ago, I think Woodward gets excited and brings him in just because of the retweets it does. I'm hoping the way this team has gone recently that we don't do that, because it's definitely £150 million plus. Now, I'm not saying he's not an upgrade on Tony Marshall. I think he is. But I just think for the cost of it, it seems massively excessive, and it seems massively unneeded, if you know what I mean. I mean, I know we need a striker, but like it feels wasteful, doesn't it? You know, it's like when Real Madrid are like, oh, they're going to buy Mbappe for 300 million, and you go, or overhaul your squad. What are you doing? Anyway, so Harry Kane, it looks like, to me, this could go one or two ways. He moves, or he gets the biggest, fattest contract that Spurs have ever given. Because I think he's on like what United would consider a fairly ordinary wage for one of our top signings. So I think that He probably wants a wage increase. And I think he'd probably be happy to stay at Spurs for the rest of his career. I mean, obviously, I don't know the guy, but I get the impression that he'd probably be happy staying at Spurs for the rest of his career if he could get a wage increase. Or maybe Jose Mourinho doesn't fancy him, which I find hard to believe, but Jose does get a bee in his bonnet about some players, doesn't he? And then once he does, that's them finished. Second story that we're talking about today then is Jude Bellingham, 16-year-old who, I'm not going to say he's ripped up the Championship, but he's made an impression on the Championship, I think, this season. He's played 30 games. He's got 4 goals, 2 assists. He's literally played in every single position in midfield, from defensive midfield, attacking midfield, regular central midfield. He's played on the left wing. He's played on the right wing. He's even started a game up front. He's a bit of an all-rounder, I think it's fair to say. I like him. I think he's good. I think he's got a lot of real positive traits. I think he's good on the ball. I think he's got excellent defensive cover. I like him. I really like him. He's quite combative, which I think you have to be a 16-year-old in the Championship. I think you have to have a sort of combative kind of nature, and I think he's got that. I think he's a good player. It seems like Dortmund have won the race for him, as Dortmund often do. I mean, what United need to do is basically just go and buy the guy at Dortmund who's identifying the young talent. The guy that's give him the power that he's got at Dortmund to bring in the likes of Sancho, to bring in the likes of Haaland, to bring in even the likes of Pulisic and so many other players that they've identified. Dortmund's recruitment is embarrassingly good, isn't it? It's outrageously good. Now, Bellingham could flop. Haaland, I guess, could still flop. I mean, if Haaland doesn't score to the end of the season, he's still done, 20 goals or something this season? So he's probably not going to be a flop. But whoever's doing the recruitment and has given the guy the power to do that recruitment is doing it right at Dortmund. There was some stuff behind the scenes that I was hearing about the Bellingham stuff, that his dad was asking for outrageous amounts of money or outrageous sort of status within the squad and stuff like that, and his dad might have been a bit of a wrong un on that front. But either way, or maybe it's just that he knows he's got a talent on his hands, because I think he's represented by his dad, and wants to get the maximum value out of that. Either way, United have seemingly lost out to Dortmund again, so you know that the paper's going to make a massive thing about that, and we'll be linked with him for every single transfer window from here to eternity when he retires in about 15 years' time. Jesus Christ. That's a long way away, isn't it? And I mean, he's only 31 then. Realistically, it might be 20 years' time. Fucking hell. Anyway, Jude Bellingham, seems like Dortmund have got him sewn up. Some tier 1 geezer from Germany is saying that looks like that one's done. And that is the sort of move that you can see Dortmund doing on it. Looks like they're paying some sort of arbitrary training cost fee rather than like when he was linked to United, it was like a £40 million thing, and everyone was going, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are we linked with Bruno Fernandes for 45 and a 16-year-old from the Championship for 40? This doesn't add up. I think that was the maximum that we could have potentially paid for him, and obviously we didn't. But yeah, good player. Let's keep an eye on him. I'm sure we're going to be linked with him forever. So let's see what happens with him. On the sales front, we've got Alexis Sanchez. Supposedly knows that he's going to have to take a wage decrease to stay at Inter Milan, but I'm going to be honest and say, why would Inter Milan want him as well? They're doing all right this season, it looks. He's started 2 games, I think. Let me just have a quick check on my notes. He started 2 games. He's come off the bench 6 times. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist, 1 red card. Not what you'd call setting the world alight. Not what you'd think, I'm going to pay $500,000 a week for that. That's fucking mashing. No, I don't think so. I think the ship may have sailed on Alexis Sanchez, and because he is contracted at United, there's a very real chance that we do put up with him next season. I do think Ollie wants rid of him, but I also think that what Ollie said in the press was deliberate in terms of trying to make sure that Manchester United get maximum value for him. If Ollie come out in the press and was like, I'm glad he went out on loan, and I tell you what, I'll be fucking him right off the second he comes back, then you're not going to get any money for him, are you? And you also might put people off who was interested in buying the guy. So you have to make the noises like, oh yeah, I can't wait to have him back. Fuck that noise. He's going to play next year and he'll be great. He'll prove you all wrong. That's what you got to do to make sure that you get maximum value for someone, or at least get someone who's interested in taking the guy off your hands. Elsewhere, another player that's on loan, Chris Smalling. Seems like Jose Mourinho quite fancies him. Supposedly, United want around 20 million. Roma only value him at 14. Seems like Spurs are willing to go to 17. I reckon there's a deal to be done there. I'm sure, isn't there? He's having a good season at Roma. He's made a good impression. 17 million seems like nothing. But United just never get good value for selling our players, do we? So I would take that and put it towards bringing Jack Grealish in, I would imagine. Get your questions in. I'm going to come and see what you guys are saying in the questions in a second. He's represented by Mino Raiola. Who is? Don't know who you're talking about there. Sancho, Kane and Grealish would be mint. I just don't think it's going to happen, mate, to be honest. I mean, Sancho, Kane, Rashford and Grealish could be England's forward four as well, really, couldn't it? That'd be quite entertaining. Ridiculous to pay that much for someone who wouldn't get into our first team. So many great 16-year-olds fail and flop. They're not fully mentally developed yet. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely bang on, mate. You've also got to think that sometimes those 16-year-olds do go on and become Wayne Rooney, but more often they probably become Francis Jeffers, don't they? Have we been linked with Longstaff? No, that was like the one of last summer, wasn't it? Unless when Newcastle was like, yeah, we want 50 million for him, we just laughed and left. Because it doesn't seem like there's anything coming back from that one, does it? China would probably want him as they don't have FFP. China don't have FFP, but they also now have got a limit. Is it 30 grand a week? There's a very, very strict limit on what people can be paid in China. That's just come into effect. If you're on a current contract in China, like let's say you sign a 3-year deal, 3 million a week or whatever the hell they're paying, they can honour that contract. Because I guess legally they can't make them not honour that contract. But no one else is allowed to be signed on outrageous wages. I'm sure it's something in the region of like 30 grand a week is the new maximum wage that's over there. Would I mind having Sanchez back next year as a rotational forward, seeing how this season has gone? I can understand having him, Callum. I can understand having him around because we need the manpower. But if there's a cultural reboot that Solskjaer keeps talking about, if there's this requirement, this need for refreshing everything, moving in a certain direction, Sanchez feels very much polar opposite to that. So while, yes, he's still a very good footballer and he would definitely have played multiple times this season, I think if United want to go in a different direction, we have to actually commit to going into that direction. And I think bringing along someone like Sanchez probably isn't a good idea. Wade says Kane's not worth 150 million. I mean, I probably agree, but can you honestly see him leaving Tottenham for any less than that? Because I can't. Rashford and Kane up top. I think you can improve on that one. Recap for the Kane, just come and joined. Okay, so here's what was the crack. So this was in the Telegraph this morning, and they are saying Tottenham face a battle to keep Harry Kane. If they fail to land silverware with a striker, going to be considering his future. For one, I don't think they're winning any silverware. It's Tottenham. For two, I think this is probably some sort of a bit of a power play to get Kane some fat wages, but it might also be a very genuine consideration for Kane to have one last push to go and do something in his career, because I think very likely that Kane could finish his career with no trophies. And I bag on him a little bit, admittedly, probably go overboard on it, but he is a good player and he probably deserves to have had some success in his career, bar winning a golden boot by having stuff come off his arse and the back of his heel. If he's going to move, he's 27 in the summer, this is the ideal time to move. Go and spend a good few seasons and go and win some stuff. If he doesn't win some stuff, bit of a waste of a career, I would say. I think that there's definitely the chance that he could move. I think what's probably as likely is that he gets a fat contract and he stays at Tottenham. If he moves, I think Tottenham need to use that money to completely refresh and overhaul their squad, because it sounds like Jose Mourinho's not going to be given any money to do that, or then they can't completely overhaul the current squad during the summer, Jose's supposedly admitted. So I think he might see selling Kane as a massive asset that gets them some funds in so they can go and flip it and utilise that good scouting network that Spurs have got. Or you stick around and he finishes his career at Tottenham as one of the highest paid players in the league. I think all of them possible. What I would say is him coming to United, I really don't fancy it. Not in terms of that I wouldn't have him, he doesn't improve us. I just think that United do not have unlimited budget. We definitely don't. If you're going to spend 150 million, I think that if you spent 150 million on Sancho and Grealish, that improves United as a team more than spending 150 million pound on Harry Kane would do. I mean, what would you guys rather? If you would rather go with Grealish and Sancho for 150 million, give us a thumbs up. And if you would rather go with Kane for 150 million, give us a thumbs down and let me know. Timo Werner or Raul Jimenez more suitable for us? I agree on both fronts, to be honest with you. How many players would be a good transfer window in the summer? It depends on who the players are, doesn't it? Really. I think there's a desperation for at least one more midfielder, possibly two. I would say that right wing spot needs sorting out once and for all. And I can make a case for a striker. I can make a case for a defender. I can make a case for quite a few other players. I think the maximum... I think we need 5 players, right? I don't think you get all of them in one window, though. Charlie, I think Juventus would be perfect for Kane. I'm a bigger England fan than United. Well, don't get many of those. So I'd like to see him go to a club that matches him better. Can you have Kane and Ronaldo in one team, though? I don't know if there's enough balls. I don't think Pogba gets back into the midfield right now. Oh, he absolutely does. Come on. Let's not completely just change the narrative around Paul Pogba. He's a phenomenal player. I saw some people yesterday saying he is the best player in the world. And you're like, well, he's not. Being the best player in the world is about having a level of consistency. And let's be honest, Paul Pogba's got a higher ceiling. And he's got the ability to be better than De Bruyne in any given game because of the physicality that he can bring. And that physicality has a massive impact on games. But Kevin De Bruyne has consistency. He's a consistent 8 out of 10. Pogba will have quite a few 6 out of 10s and the occasional 9 out of 10. And the very rare occasional 10 out of 10. But Kevin De Bruyne, I think he's just class constantly. And I think we might get more of a De Bruyne out of Bruno than we get a Pogba out of Bruno. And ultimately that's going to improve us better and more consistently. And I think that makes us a better football team by knowing what we've got. Carl, I think Manchester City would head the race for Kane. I never considered that. And that would be very interesting, wouldn't it? If City are just going like full on fuck FFP, that's one way to do it. Without a shadow of a doubt, innit? Righty, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to check back a little bit later on. What have we got coming out later on, Joe?
We've got a preview for the Derby game.
Preview for the Derby game.
And we've got a youth review.
And a youth review with Dave Pritt coming out. So make sure to keep it locked for all of those. Make sure to subscribe if you're new. And also, we've got a big push on at the moment for if you like listening to our podcast in audio format when you're driving or when you're slacking off work or when you're pretending to be listening to the teacher in technology. Whichever it is that you're doing, head over to iTunes, search Stretford Paddock, go and give us a 5-star review because we are currently in 6th place. We're in the Europa League spots, but we want to be in a Champions League spot. And that's where we want to be for the search term Manchester United. You guys can help that by voting for us on there. Give us a 5-star review. And the funniest review gets a mug. Simple as that. I'm giving a mug away every single week while we're doing this. But thank you guys for tuning in. And I will see you guys in the next one. Laters.